opportunity to look for alternate steps. So this would give me an alternate selection method for that drop-down box. And here you can see it gives me the option just to select which item in the list it was. So I would have just selected that as use option 3 instead of using the value with the actual balance in. And I would do the same for this step. And I'll change these because it may actually fail to work as it should have done when I run it through again. Okay, so those were, so they're very quick to correct those errors because of the functionality that's provided with these drop-down boxes. And this will show me everything about each step. I can look at the different arguments. I've got there some timeouts, what's the actual action that's being performed here. And you can see it captures things like mouse downs, mouse overs, getting properties. So all the sorts of dynamic events that you have on a page, it will capture. And you've then got the ability to customize the arguments in here. So if I wanted to select a different ordinal from that drop-down, I can do it from here. So you can customize anything in these steps, and it's very visual and intuitive. And you can see it's actually failed when it's got to step 14 here, which was picking the date. And I mentioned that was an AJAX control, and you can see here that that AJAX pop-up hasn't occurred. Now, if you're astute, you'll have noticed that the step numbers here aren't sequential. There's some gaps in here. And that's because we've recorded a lot of extra information that we may or may not need. And in this case, it looks like there's something that we've recorded that we do need that isn't being shown at this highest level. So if I go back up to the bar at the top here, I've got this concept of a script level. And if I move this slider down to level 3, it will show me everything that was recorded. And I can see here step number 12, which was click on the date text box, which launched that pop-up. I want that to be at the highest level. When I rerun my script, I want that to replay. Or by default, it's put it at level 2, so I just need to move that back up to level 1. And then if I move my script back up to level 1, my click on date text box will be there. So now when I run this through, that step should work, and we should get the date pop-up, and then the date picker should work correctly as well. There we go, there's the date pop-up. It should keep going. Okay, so to stop. So, okay, it's had a problem here when it stopped. Not sure why that is actually. Okay, it's probably the end event here, step network complete. We want it to be action completed. So I can select what to pass a step on, when to go on to the next step, and do we want to wait for an action to complete? Is it just the network components we're waiting for, or do we want to wait for a GUI component to complete? In this case, I need to wait for the GUI component to complete. You can see when you're developing scripts, it's very visual. All the information's there in the properties of these different steps. I haven't had to go in to do any coding, which you normally would do using the C language within the tool. So even for scripting against normal web applications, it's a lot more intuitive and a lot quicker to do. And if I want to put a checkpoint in, say on this particular page I want to check for the amount, I can do that. Stop the script here. I've got a toolbox here on the left, And I've got various different controls within here, so I can do loops, for loops, do while, all those kind of scripting techniques. I've also got access to JavaScript, for instance, so if I wanted to put some script within my script, I could do that. If I wanted to evaluate some parameters, for instance. But what I actually want here is a verification step, and I just drag that to the point that I want it to be in the script. Click here, and it asks me to select the object I want to check for. I want to check for the amount in this case, and that's it. Now we've got to check for that particular amount. If I run it again, it should get through to the end, and it should verify that transfer amount of £53, or dollars in this case. When you want to add transactions, it's just simply a case of selecting the steps you want to surround in a transaction, and then right-clicking and selecting the surrounding transaction option. So I might want to, there we go, it's passed successfully, it verified my check. I might want to create, for instance, a login transaction. So there was the step that logged me in, where I entered the password, and then pressing the enter key. So if I wanted to enable this as a transaction, I just right-click, and I've got surround with transaction. Just give it a name, log in. Similarly, I might want to do the whole of my money transfer, and I might want to do that as a transaction. Again, just right-click, to transfer, and then you can see we've got a transaction wrapper around that item. I can also do the same thing for basic conditional loops, so for loop, and here I can go in and change the amount. So if I wanted to do 2 transfers, just change that value, and then it will go through and do 2 transfers when it goes through for me. So very easy to use, very intuitive, and supports all Ajax applications. That's a very quick introduction to TruClient scripting. The benefits of us, as we've seen, it's very fast, it's very intuitive to use, and there's less expertise required. So LoadRunner scripting historically can often require quite a bit of programming knowledge, whereas using something like the TruClient there, it's much more like your traditional functional testing applications that are very visual and very interactive. So the aim of it, is, as I said, is to support Ajax applications, but you might want to use it even for just doing standard web testing, where you don't have the expertise to develop complicated scripts. It's something you could do much more easily with TruClient. Okay, so that was the first new feature, a major new feature in LoadRunner 11. Next we have multi-level reporting. Traditionally in LoadRunner analysis tool, when you're creating reports, you're working with the live data in your analysis session, and you create a number of graphs. You can merge things together, so you might have running users versus response times, for instance. And then once you've created those sets of graphs, you might want to create different reports for different people, so you'd have to go through that process again maybe to create a management report versus a system level report. And then you have to export, convert those manually to different data formats to pass them around. And while you're doing that editing and configuration process, you're working with the live data. If you've got a big data set, that can be quite slow. When you do a refresh or put a filter on a graph, it can take quite a bit of time to refresh. So the whole process can be quite time consuming. In the new version of LoadRunner, we have the concept of multi-level reporting. And this is where you can create a template, and you do it in the same type of way that you would create those normal graphs, so you can still cross different graph statistics together. But when you're doing this, you're not working with the live data. You're just creating a template. And within a single analysis session, you can have multiple templates. So you've got this idea of templates for different personas. And there are a number of templates that come out of the box, such as high-level management report and lower-level system report, for instance. And you can customize these, create your own, and save them. And you can add text and logos and all this kind of thing. So you can make it much more personalized than the standard kind of graph output you get from the normal analysis reports. And you can also specify the format that these different reports are saved in. So it makes it much quicker, much easier. You're not wasting as much time waiting for the data to refresh when you're creating these reports. And it's very easy to get different types of reports out for these different personas. And this all fits in with the idea of increasing the visibility within an organization, being able to get these different types of reports out to different people quickly and easily. So that's multi-level reporting. Next we have, we'll do these two together, just bullet points really, other new protocols, and then an update on platform support, environment support. So we've talked about Ajax TruClient. There's also a protocol to support Microsoft Silverlight, and both of these are part of the Rich Internet Applications bundle. So if you already have Rich Internet Applications, or you have the Web 2.0 protocol bundle, which includes RIA, then if you upgrade to version 11 of LoadRunner, you will get these new protocols as part of that. There's also a new Java-based protocol, which is for Java applications that are running over HTTP, and this has capabilities to deserialize the Java objects so that you can work with them without having to edit the hex. So it's just like a Java application over JMS. It gives you that kind of capability. There's also a new protocol to support service test within the SOA bundle. Service test is our functional tool for testing web services. Historically, the first iteration of that tool was based on the LoadRunner ViewGen tool. The new version 11 of service test has been developed from the ground up. It's a graphical-based tool for testing applications that don't have an interface, such as SOA applications. So in order to support the service test scripts in LoadRunner, there's this new protocol in the SOA bundle. So you develop your functional scripts, you can then open them up in LoadRunner and use them to do a performance test. This is just a delta, really, of the supported environments. So we still support XP and older versions of Internet Explorer, for instance. This is just the latest support platform. So IE 8, Firefox 3, Google Chrome is now supported as well for recording scripts. And we support Windows 7, Windows Server 2008, 32-bit and 64-bit. In the initial release of LoadRunner, there were recording on the ViewGen wasn't supported on 64-bit, but that is supported now. And LoadRunner itself is still a 32-bit application, so we support recording of 32-bit applications, obviously not the recording of 64-bit applications. So if you've got 64-bit applications that you want to test, you have to wait till the next version of LoadRunner, I think, before that support comes in. But if you're just running on a 64-bit operating system, then LoadRunner will work fine. Some miscellaneous enhancements. Data format extensions is a new capability within ViewGen for scripting, and it allows you to basically format the data that comes back from your server as XML, so that you can then use XPath queries to validate that data. There's also been improvements to the snapshot viewer, which is the web viewer you get when you're developing web scripts, which is just a browser implementation within ViewGen. So that has now got better support for current browser technology. Support for Citrix Web Access, the Enfuse protocol. And there's also been some improvements to the Correlation Studio. So if you are using traditional LoadRunner protocol, correlation should be a bit easier now. And there's some performance improvements to the analysis tool as well. So those are the new features, capabilities in LoadRunner 11. As I said, they apply to Performance Center as well. Those are all common technologies. The scripting technology and the analysis technology are the same in both products. Now we're going to look at the new features in Performance Center. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Performance Center, I'll try and give you a bit of an overview of the product as well as we go through. So as I mentioned in the introduction, Performance Center is our enterprise-level performance testing solution. It's web-based, allows you to access it globally. The license is global as well, so there are no site restrictions as there are with LoadRunner. And as you'd expect, multiple people can be working on projects at the same time.